Hello, welcome. I'm Candace from Happy Catastrophe, and welcome to video 5, card 4 of hashtag Color the Tarot. This series has been so much fun, and getting to see your images and how everyone has colored each one of these cards differently has been such a joy. So let's refresh and look at all of them. Weren't those amazing? This is my favorite part of this series. It's just seeing what you all have done with your fantastic colorings. They are so meditative and inspiring. Many of you have inspired me to go and do that exact same picture and see what I can do with it. If you have stumbled on this video, this is the 5th in a series, so I encourage you to go back to the 1st, and I will have all of the links to all of the videos in the series in the description box. There is no timeline on these. You just go at your own pace. You can go back, you can go forward. You know, they do kind of build on each other, so I encourage the first time you view these videos to go in order. But definitely, I don't want you to have any sense that you've come into this late or that you're behind, because there is no such thing. This is simply just at your own pace, coloring what you want, and just learning as we go. I often go back and color images that I want to go back and color. So even though today we are going to talk about the Emperor, I've got a couple images of the Fool and one of the Empress that I want to do in another book. So yeah, I'm jumping around all over the place as well. So let's just have fun. And if the only thing is when you finish a picture, put it up on hashtag Color the Tarot. I will find it and I'll add it to the next video. So I like to start with this book. This is Modern Witch by Lisa Sturl, because she does have the most information about each card and some lovely references. And we have done the Fool. And as you know, the Fool was the one who walks off the cliff, thinking about other things, head in the sky. But this is the card of taking chances, but be careful that you don't step off any cliffs. We had the Magician, which is taking everything around you, knowing that you have the tools all around you to create a difference in the world around you, to manifest something in your life. We have the High Priestess sitting there with her laptop. She is the bringer of information, the connection between our subconscious and our conscious. And she is able, she's like an information superhighway, helps us to get answers to questions we may have. And then at last, we did the Empress in her most recent video. And she is sensuality, femininity. She is connection to nature. And she is all things natural, all things feminine. And we talked about how Lisa Sturl modeled this image after Beyonce, who she feels is one of the most powerful women around. And if you haven't seen this book, if you've been along on this channel, you've seen this book. This is a wonderful book, great paper. Lisa Sturl's a graphic artist. She does comic books and such, which is where she gets a lot of this. And then she does the tarot. So that was, and as you know, there's always a picture of the card. And I love what many of you are doing. There's been color alongs, there's been buddies that have buddied up to do the whole book, and they're doing the cards in certain color schemes or with a certain unifying element just to make it look like a deck. And then there's always these reflections that you can look at or not. There's an explanation of the card. There's always a mandala, which I never color. There's our High Priestess. Then we went on to the Empress. This is where we left off last time. And she is all lushness and vegetation and flora and fauna and connection with the natural world. So if you think of her and think opposite day, you get the Emperor. So where the Empress is dealing with raw power, where do you draw your power from, and loving yourself and embodying yourself, being all of you, and learning from hardship. The Emperor isn't about learning from hardship. The Emperor is about changing what's around him to fit him. So the Emperor is the opposite of the Empress. The Emperor is logic, control, stability, rules, that sort of thing, conformity. This person, this card rules by pure power over. Now that can sound very negative, and it can be negative if one becomes too rigid or too stuck in their ways, unwilling to bend, unwilling to see anybody else's point of view. That's where it goes too far. And all of these archetypes have shadow sides, have sides where you've just gone too far with that way of being and need to be pulled back a bit. The Emperor, though, is one that can be depended on. They are a leader. They're sometimes a teacher, but moreover, they're the one that enforces the rules, gives stability, and can lead a people. So Lisa Sturl has made her rendition of the Emperor. The Emperor is tied to the sign Aries, so you see the Aries horns there. And like some Aries people and most Rams, they can be very stubborn. She has also, there's usually a river nearby, but whereas in the Fool or the Empress, the river was big and lush and something that, that you're not necessarily crossing, but you're abiding by and you're enjoying of. The Emperor here is not related to nature and lushness and green and verdant. They are rulers of civilizations and cities and colonies and communities coming together. So this big, wide, lush river is a trickle. Now and I assume she kind of implies it here, like he's sitting on the other side, or they are sitting on the other side of this smaller river. Sorry about the chirping in the background. The chickens are getting really excited. This Ankh is their scepter. You will often see an Ankh in emperor cards. And this was carried by pharaohs into the afterlife, one belief is. And it's a symbol of life eternal. So they not only are in control of all of their surroundings, and many cards also show the emperor with a globe or something that represents the world, they also are in control of life going forward. So they are like a supreme being. The throne, they're often on a throne. They can be on a throne, although if you notice, this throne is cracking a little bit, which is very interesting, don't you think? Look, it's not as solid as the emperor would like it to believe. But the throne here is made from the same crystalline rock that can be found in the empress's country. So you remember the empress, she had crystals. She had lots of crystals. And I still am planning on coloring this picture because I love to color crystals. And she's so beautiful. But now it's been shaped and conformed and given, right angles, and it's a very austere throne for someone to sit on. It's a block. It's not all the organic points and different shapes. They have their authority from the control. The control is their seat of power, and them controlling the landscape around them. So here you have a city instead of a forest, a man-made thing. And since they cannot control nature, you often see them in some sort of environment where they are the one that's in control, either through they have the knowledge of the situation that's happening, or they have some sort of power that's been bestowed upon them, or they have taken power as in a conqueror. That's the power of the emperor. That's the feel of the emperor. Lisa gave this one an androgynous look, saying that they this inner strength where they do not conform to other people's standards, and in this case of gender identity, that they will make their own gender identity. So this person is using a sharp, well-tailored suit, kind of like armor, and you will often see the emperor dressed in some sort of regal garb, whether it be religious or it's sort of a courtly or armor, something that is a suit of some sort, an outfit of some sort that symbolizes something. They're not, half naked like the empress. They are fully covered. And Lisa Sturl says that this is also a reminder that as we sit comfortably in our homes, we need to remember, where is the source of the river? Where is the source of the food we get? And that's Lisa Sturl's adding some meaning into this, that don't be just this. It can be a warning sign too. If you just cut yourself off and live in this box and don't remember where all this came from. So Lisa Sturl says the emperor's strength is organic and natural. The emperor's power is derived from rules, obeying them, enforcing them, and reshaping them. They preside over more of an urban landscape, and they stand for artifice and culture, taking what they want from nature and shaping it to their needs. So exactly the opposite of the empress. By using all the tools at their disposal, they preside over life itself. So this is a very powerful idea of a way of being. And you can see where it can easily go wrong. I think you can look in our own history and identify several emperors, whether we called them emperors or not, and saw how it's so easy for this kind of power to be used for harm. So this is a power that many people are innately born with. I don't know if you've ever come across someone that just walked into a room and immediately owned it. It's like half of my ex-lovers, basically, because that's a personality type that really used to draw me. And so they can use their power for good. They can walk into a room, own it, but understand that they have this ability. Try to, be gentle with people, but they can't help but be the one everybody turns to if there's a crisis, or if there's a group project, or if someone needs an answer to something. And because they often have those answers, and they can be very sexy and attractive, and they can also take that power and be harmful. They're not aware of their sexiness. They're not aware of that. This is all about control and being in control and being in power. So let's see what our little reflection questions Lisa has given us. What's the logical solution to a problem you are facing? So we're not tapping into the high priestess here. We're like, let's sit and meditate, and maybe, this information superhighway will come through, and the answer to our problem will show up in our dreams. No, this is what we got to think our way through this. What is of all? Let's list our solutions down. Let's check off the ones that aren't logical. Let's make a short list of what's possible. Let's set up committees to discuss it. I mean, that's how we address problems from the emperors, because this is, like she says here, there's a time for chaos and there is a time for order. So the emperor brings you the time for order and a time to think of things logically. But remember, rigidity can lead to stubbornness. What rules have you set for yourself in life, and do you follow them? I'd like to say that we as colorists are really loosey-goosey and don't have any rules, but oh my gosh, do we have so many rules. I watch your videos and I hear the disappointment you have in your coloring. I see the goals we set for ourselves. We have coloring books that we list out our goals, and did we meet our goals? And most of the videos I watch, people seem really balanced. I have a coloring book, a coloring journal. I write out what I want to do for the month. I check it off. And for most of us, I don't see anybody being really disappointed in themselves that they didn't meet their goals. And so I think that's a nice balance. So as colorists, can we set these rules? Like I like to do 10. Okay, let's look at myself. I set a goal, and basically a rule, to do 10 images a month. If I do more, yay me, but 10 is achievable. And then I want 40 to 50% of those to be from new books until the new books are all done and I've colored and everything. I like to do 2 buddies. I like to do 3 hashtags, whatever, that sort of thing. Those are rules that I set for myself every month, and then I try to meet them. So that's using the power of the emperor, setting up rules, setting up boundaries. And I have found that that's super helpful, because before I did that, which in the beginning of my coloring journey, I didn't, I kind of would get lost in my books every month. I wouldn't know what I was going to do next. My coloring went very slowly. I kind of got bored with it because what am I going to color next? Maybe I'll just play a game. Instead, this gave me something to look forward to. Well, like I've got 8 pictures this month and I only have 2 more to go. Or I have on my list these hashtags I wanted to do this month. So let's go in the books and find things that'll meet these hashtags. And it gave me a purpose to my coloring. My coloring's main purpose is as a creative outlet, 1, and 2 is to soothe the anxious soul, to give myself some peace and some relief and some from anxiety and stress. I don't experience much stress, but I do have generalized anxiety, and it just pops up for no reason. And coloring seems to help the best of anything I've tried, other than meditation, because I am a Buddhist nun, and meditation is one thing I do, and it is phenomenal. But sometimes I also, it's not tapping into anything in my creative side. So coloring is sort of an active form of meditation for me, and absolutely enjoyable. And then I have something to see at the end, which is meaningful to me. So setting up kind of boundaries around it kind of then kept me going on a path, and I was able to do more images, to have more fun, to understand my medium that I was using better by setting these goals and meeting these goals. So I now do that every month, and it's like, well, hell, if I don't know what to do next, I look at my list of things I wanted to do, and there's something to do. but not to beat myself up about it if I don't do it. And that's when the emperor can go too far. If we start feeling down on ourselves, or we punish ourselves in some way internally because we didn't meet these goals. Just know that, as my Buddhist teacher says, the rules are there to be broken. Actually, that's not exactly what he says. Exactly what he says is the rules are there so that you know what you broke when you broke it, because you're going to break the rules. What do you wear when you want to feel powerful? So this goes back to the suit. When you want to feel powerful, what do you wear? Now, I dress in robes every day, so I don't have an armor, but those robes do have meaning and do say something to people when I bump into them. And so I don't feel powerful in my robes, but I feel comfortable and safe in my robes. So maybe that can be, I don't have a suit that I wear to be powerful. I used to. When I was young, I had going out dancing clothes. When I got older, I had professional clothes. You know, there were clothes that made me feel like I was an authority in the environment that I was going into. So that's something to think about. Interesting question. How do you reshape society's rules to assert your identity? This is so important now, because for so long, people have been willing to hide their identity because they didn't match society's rules about what identity should look like, about what society has a lot of rules that are sort of just, I don't know, just accepted. Like they're not written down anywhere, but just sort of communally accepted rules of what people should look like depending on what identity they are wanting to that they are born to. There's this theory that people are born into an identity, and then you must look a certain way from the day you were born after someone else decides what your identity is. And it's ridiculous when we think about it that way. Absolutely foolish, but it is a very strong assumption in this culture, which makes folks who dress or look differently than what the communal idea of what they should look like, they have a tough time with life. So are you strong enough? When I was in high school, it was in the 80s, and it was not okay to be gay or lesbian at that time. It was dangerous. So most people hid their identity. However, there was one woman who just rocked it. And partly because she didn't care. She honestly didn't care what people said about her when it was so important as a teenager, what people say about you. She didn't really care. So she was just herself. She dressed like a boy. She played all the boys' sports. She was super athletic. She dated women, and nobody cared about it. And that was so cool. She had this emperor power where she reshaped society's rules to assert her identity. And she was popular. She had male friends, lots of men friends, and then she had lots of the girls that wanted to be her friend. But she had a lot of friends that were cool guys. So she wasn't on the outskirts of the cliques. She was right in the middle of it all. But she walked into a room and owned it. So sometimes that does wonders for ourselves. So that's the feel of the emperor: power, control, dominance. So let's look at some other pictures that you might have in other books that we can color. All right. This book, many of us have or have bought recently. It's such a delightful book. It is on Amazon. Alexis E. Thompson's Tarot Coloring. And it's one-sided. And just gorgeous. This was the full picture that many of you, well, not many, but several of you did this picture. And I love it. I have not done it because I'm just terrified of all these feathers. But I need to take some energy from the Fool and just jump off that cliff. And because that's what these geese do. These baby geese jump off a cliff as their first foray out of a nest. And if they survive, then they live their lives down by the seashore with their mother, who flew off the cliff. But it's very fascinating geese. They're called barnacle geese. And many of you have done this picture, and it's so beautiful. This was our magician. Magician has everything they need at their hands to bring out, to make anything happen, to manifest. It's all about manifestation. The high priestess. Those of you that have done this picture with the pomegranates, she is amazing, isn't she? She's got her scroll of information. Then there's the Empress. I just did this the other day, and it's very shiny. The Empress is, she's the one that's connected with the lush landscape. She's very woman. Now this one looks very, like, she looks like she can be paired up with the emperor with her crown and everything, but I just loved her. And now we have the emperor. All right. So, and look, I used alcohol markers on this. So reading it was difficult when I was studying up for this video. But this one, I love it that Alexis made him like a Chinese emperor. Look at that. He's got that magnificent headdress, the wide shoulders, almost like a armor on him, Chinese armor. He's holding the ankh again and the globe, showing his forever extreme power over the entire world. He rules the entire world. He's got the Chinese dragons, which are a traditional Chinese symbol of power and strength. He's got the ram heads down here showing the connection to Aries. Isn't it beautiful? I'm definitely doing this one. I'm so excited. I can't wait to do all these jewels and stuff right in here. And this dragon. I just love the look of this guy. He looks like he could walk into a room and own it, right? Yeah, magnificent. I can't wait to see what some of you do with this picture and that dragon. Dragons are fun because you can make them any color you want. I basically make them match the rest of the picture, so because they can be anything, right? So I imagine a lot of reds and golds I'm going to have. In fact, I have some beautiful reds in my Rosa watercolors from Ukraine, which you can also get on Amazon, and they're fantastic. Budget friendly. I think I might use that. And I'll show you a picture where I have used the Rosa watercolors, but I think I might do this one with those because they have a beautiful red in there. And then of course I always use my well-loved Kuretake Gansai Tambi starry colors. These golds go in, gosh, almost everything. They're always sitting out drying or wetting, or they're in some phase of being used. But yes, here is one we could do for the emperor. And I can't wait to see how many of you do this one. All right, let's look at another. All right, here we have Kawaii Tarot. And if you are watching this video in June of 2023, there is a buy 3 for 2 sale right now. And I do have a really short video in my playlist on how to access that sale. And this book is on it. I'd never seen that before. This is by Lulu Mayo. This is that wonderful book where also many of us are also working out of this. This is where I use the Rosa watercolors. This is that red. And then I mix it with different colors to make it different depths of red. And then the gold, Kuretake Gansai Tambi gold there. So yeah, I think these colors would be cool for that emperor, so I might do that. And then we had the magician, where you have all the tools you need to manifest what you want in life. And then the high priestess. I saw so many of you guys do so many wonderful versions of this. Oh my gosh. There are some beautiful ones. And if you want to rewind this video at the end and watch them again, there are some gorgeous, so many that I haven't done it myself because I'm like, there's no way I could do it as well as some of you have done this. It's just beautiful. But I do, this is one of the ones I'm going to go back and do because I just love this high priestess. There she is with her scroll, bringing us information from our subconscious, bringing it to us. The Empress. I love this one too. Many of you did her in pink, which I think is awesome. Of course, a poodle empress would be pink. She's got pomegranates on her little sweater, and she's surrounded in nature. And the Emperor is here. Now, I think that is a American Eskimo, a really fat corgi, some kind of really floofy dog. And his little scepter has a dog on it. I just love it. And here he is in his throne, which I think would be fun to make it like, it looks like a chair you'd have in your living room. Almost looks like one of those ones that curved around you, like mid-century modern style. And then here's all his subjects, and they're little baby poodles. They're little dogs. And then, of course, Lulu Mayo's strange mountains and hills that she does around here, and the sun shining down. So he is giving the illusion that this is a king. He is a king on a throne. He has subjects that look up to him. He rules the entire world. And yes, when he walks into a room, he owns it. And little Mayo over here, she always has a little blurb. And she says, the emperor considers stability, power, and authority. You can bring order to chaos, sometimes doing much by staying still. The emperor, and this is what I've noticed, is the emperor energy can be very still. The person isn't doing that much. They just are that powerful. It's just this, putting on your big girl panties and you are going out in the world and people know it. They are, you don't have to do anything. You just are confident. It says, inhabit your confidence fully and do not apologize for who you are. So if you're trans, if you're cis, if you're a floofy, corgi, poodle, American Eskimo, pooch, whatever you are, unicorn, you are who you are, and inhabit that fully because you are beautiful. But even though a ruler has a throne, a ruler still serves. So the idea of the servant master, the servant king, that you are the one in power, you are the one people look up to, but you are serving those who are looking up to you. You're making decisions for the good of all. So that is something to keep in mind when you're exerting your power, is this for the general good? So there's another choice. And I have one more, so let's look at that. My last book that I have examples of the major arcana of Tarot in is Cosmic Spirit, my beloved Cosmic Spirit, of which I went bonkers in this month. I just kept coloring and coloring and coloring in this one. And in here, we had the Fool. Many of you colored this one. Oh, there's just been some beautiful renditions of this. And I love this version of the Fool. This Fool is not just walking off a cliff. He is bursting off a cliff. He's like glitter and he's jumping off. He's got a staff. His eyes are closed, which is very typical of the Fool. And he's part nature. His legs turn into wood. He's all nature. And he's just, it's almost like the cliff exploded from underneath him. And I love that idea. And I definitely want to find time to come back to this one. Trying to get you better in frame. Starting to lose our light. Then our next one that we had was The Magician. This picture is so powerful and so dynamic. Showing again a being with all the tools they need to manifest what they want. And this also was on my long-term list to do. Love that picture. And then we have, this is nothing. This is just something I did this month and will be in my completed pages. We have the High Priestess. I did this month as well. She is bringing us information. She's got her long parchment of information. She's the information conduit from our subconscious to our conscious, and she is silently working there inside of us. We can all tap into her. I do all these with alcohol markers. I love alcohol markers and mythographics. And then there was the Empress, and Fabiana Attanasio did her as this sort of mystical fairy-like creature. But the Empress, again, is completely connected to nature. There's her crystals, her animals, her plant life. The Empress is in tune with everything that's natural. But then we have half-naked guy meditating, the Emperor. This, Fabiana did a completely different take on this, and I find it fascinating, and I'm going to do it. It's almost like Incan, or probably Incan, but maybe Mayan or Aztec. No rigidity in this. No scepter, no globe, but what you have here is almost definitely someone who is in touch with something. He's got the third eye, which I think is in place of the Ankh. The third eye is often like an eternal knowledge. And his eyes are rolled up in his head like he is in trance of some sort, but his third eye is open. So perhaps open to the messages of the universe, open to knowledge. But I don't think he needs an Ankh in a world because he's out in space with all these worlds. So it's like he rules everything, the entire universe. He's definitely with that, you know, that magnificent headdress and the beads and the feathers. He's someone with power, maybe a shaman type, but an important person. I mean, if this guy walked in a room, he would own it, but he walked into the universe and owned it. So a very interesting take on the Emperor. And I would love to see what some of you guys do with this one. I'm definitely going to tackle this one. I think it's going to be a challenge for me, but I just have so many ideas when I look at it, especially with him being out in space. How cool is that? And again, this is a male, probably a male gendered creature, but it's also can be anything. So the idea of bending the rules, of being who you are authentically, regardless of what other people's rules are, by making your own rules, by asserting who you are into the world as you are, not trying to mask or hide. These are big messages for the Emperor, and I think really important for this time. I think it is. So let's wrap up. So today we've talked about the card number 4, which is the 5th card of the major arcana of the tarot, because the Fool is card 0. It was added later to the deck and given the designation of 0. I'm always glad the Fool was added because it's a perfect place to start, right? Just closing your eyes and taking a leap of faith. And then we start with the cards 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we are on card 4. This is video number 5, and of the Emperor. And I can't wait to see what you do with it all. I hope that this video gives you some things to think about while you're coloring. It is an interesting thing to think about, especially this field is dominantly women. We have several men in it as well, but there's a lot of female colorists, and colorists that identify female. And traditionally, at least in the Western world, we've not been in a position of power. So how does it feel to like tap into that? Is it cool? Is it scary? Interesting, very interesting. And while you're coloring and enjoying yourselves, I hope you do feel some of that energy coming through where you are you perfectly. And whatever you are, however you present, is absolutely right and absolutely perfect. And nobody needs to tell you to be different. And if they do, be like my lesbian friend in high school. Who cares? You can think all you want about me, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't change who I am, and good on you, but this is who I am, and I just don't really care about your opinions. That's, I think, tapping into a bit of the Emperor energy right there. So enjoy your coloring. I'll be adding any colorings from this date up to the next video to the long list of videos we have, and showing them in the next or long list of images we have and showing them in the next video. And I can't wait to see what you color. Happy coloring!